Hello, and welcome to the Filthy Rich Writer YouTube channel. I am Nikki.
And I am Kate. I almost forgot who I was. I don't know why. And together, we
real well.
We have a combined 35 years of copywriting experience. We didn't do the math, but I'm heading close to 15. You're over 20 at this point. That math, 36, 37, we didn't get precise. But
yeah, way to really rub that over 20.
Well, you know.
And we have taught more than 11,000, we're getting real close to 12,000 students to become professional copywriters.
And today we're talking about what it means to actually be a copywriter, some of the traits that you might want to cultivate, or maybe that you already have that you don't realize that would help you in your copywriting career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think the first one, and maybe this goes without saying, but we're going to say it anyway. You should have a natural affinity for writing. It should be something that you like to do, because if not, newsflash, you're going to be doing a lot of it. But it should be something that you enjoy and that you have found that you are just naturally good at. You know, friends will say, "Oh, can you take a look at this? You're such a good writer," or, "Oh, how would you say this?" or things along those lines. I think most of us who are just like naturally good writers, exactly. We get people saying that to us. You know, our friends like, "Hey, can you just take a look at my resume?"
Just had a friend. Yeah, I've been reviewing a lot of cover letters lately.
Yeah.
So, don't ask if you don't want honest feedback.
Yeah.
Another trait, though, I think that's where kind of the writing, though, aspect, obviously very important, but it's not all about writing. Most of these other traits don't really have anything other to do with writing, but resilience. And I guess it does relate to writing in that it's a collaborative process. So you're going to get feedback, and the best way to get used to getting feedback is to get feedback. The more and more you get feedback, the more you realize it's not about you. It's not about your writing. It's just maybe someone knows something that you didn't know while the client might have information that they forgot to pass along to you.
Well, I think resilience is important too, because not everyone is going to hire you, right? Sometimes you're going to have a conversation with a potential client and
you might not want to work with them.
You might not want to work with them, but also they might just say, you know what? No, I don't think we're going to move forward with that. And you can't take every single interaction to heart.
Yeah, which relates to another trait, which is flexibility. So being flexible, you're rolling with the punches. You're open to other points of view. You're providing great customer service, though, I think is the other thing. Sometimes when your client comes to you and they're like, "Ooh, hey, can you squeeze this in?" And maybe you can't, and that's totally fine. But I think the more you can be flexible with clients and say, "Oh, actually, this is outside my normal, normally it would take me 2 weeks to do this, but you know what? I have a little extra time this week. I can squeeze it in for you." I think that flexibility really goes a long way.
The next trait we kind of identified as we came up with this list as hustle, but I would almost more than that just say the willingness to take action.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that the hard part is deciding to change your career or deciding to do something new. And certainly that can take some gumption. That can take a little bit of hardiness. But you have to keep taking action after that. Wishing and hoping is not a strategy. If you are I'm going to be a copywriter, but then you're going to sit back and wait for clients to come to you or wait for referrals to come to you, it's going to be rough. You will get referrals eventually, but you need to take the steps, and certainly we'll give you all of the exact steps on how to do it, but you need to take the steps to create opportunities for yourself.
So I think along with that is the willingness to learn. When you learn anything, whether it's copywriting or anything, you need to, if I want to learn French, I have to go out and learn French. It's just not just going to be absorbed into my brain. One day, I hope that'd be amazing. But it's crucial though, to also know that, hey, you might need support as you're learning something new. I might need a French tutor, just like I'd need a copywriting, someone to give me feedback on as I'm learning so that I know what I need to know to get the job done.
Absolutely. The next one is being objective, and it's even more being objective, but not being. We kind of talked about it a little bit before, but not getting married to your copy, not getting so attached to what you've written that you can't hear the client's feedback, that you're not willing to incorporate the client's feedback. Copywriting is so much fun. It is so creative and strategic at the same time, but it's collaborative. And so you have to be able to take a step back from what you've written and hear the feedback that you're getting, and often, especially when it comes to the client, incorporate that feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So trait number 7 is willingness to speak up. And we kind of touched on this, but it's really picking your battles, knowing what battles to pick with your client of, hey, this is really could have a major impact on how this copy performs versus, I always use the example client versus customer. I had a client who we use the word customer, not client. Fine. That's not going to make a difference, I feel like, in that example. So knowing when to pick your battles with your clients.
Absolutely. The next trait that we would say is essential is the willingness to be persistent. Now, you don't have to be persistent at every moment of the day, certainly. But when it comes to getting things done, when it comes to, again, to taking action, when it comes to finishing the copy that you have to write, certainly deadlines will go a long way toward getting that stuff done. But, your first draft is never going to be perfect, because there is no perfect. It might be really, really good.
And I'm perfect, Nikki.
Well, except for cakes. Sometimes you will have a client when you send through your first round that they'll say, "This is great. I love it." As is. That will happen sometimes, but more often than not, they will come back with some feedback, which is great and natural, because if they have things in their head about their business that they couldn't have even thought to tell you. It's a collaborative process. So taking that feedback, incorporating it, and being persistent and taking that action, keep making those edits, get that work done.
Yeah. Trait number 9, pleasantness. This isn't, I feel like, hopefully an easy one. Just being nice to work with, and remembering too, though, that clients are humans too. Yeah. It can be, sometimes you might get frustrated, or you're like, why are they giving me this feedback? Whatever. Remember, they're humans and you're a human. And just being nice to work with goes a really long way.
What I would kind of tack onto that is giving people the benefit of the doubt, which you could kind of include with pleasantness. Yeah. Pleasant people give people the benefit of the doubt.
Number 10, creativity, which I feel like people think about this one a little, overthink it. It isn't about being witty or clever or, I have to come up with something funny. Sometimes if that's your client's tone, maybe, but maybe you don't. More often than not, the clients I work with are not witty and funny tones.
The creativity comes from figuring out what puzzle you're trying to solve. What does your client want to, what is your client trying to convey? To whom are they trying to convey it? And what other elements do you need to include in there? And then how do you include that with the client's brand voice? And what words do you use? And how do you say that? How do you break that down into the various pieces, elements of this copy? That's where you get that creativity. You and I have both used the example of it's copywriting is both creativity and it's strategy. Yeah. And what it ends up feeling like sometimes is like a word puzzle. Yeah. That you're trying to solve this the best way. And there's no perfection, but you're trying to solve it the best way that you possibly can. And that is, quite frankly, a whole lot of fun.
It is fun. Yeah. And the last one, number 11, being proactive, which I think is honestly one of the more important ones, especially if you're going to go freelance, but even if you're in-house. So noticing when there's a challenge, noticing when you have an opportunity to brainstorm possible solutions for your client, and not letting the work just come to you, even if you've worked with the client before. I think that's the biggest mistake folks make, is thinking they're just going to keep feeding me work versus, hey, I see an opportunity. I'm going to tell them that and try to solve it. And maybe they're honestly, I think if you spot typos on the client's website, if you're already working with them, just fix it. You don't even need to point it out to them, that type of thing. So just doing things when you see that there's an opportunity to do them.
So there you have it, our 11, I think 11-ish, somewhere in there, traits of copywriters. So if you found that you had a lot of these same traits, copywriting is absolutely something that you may want to explore. We have a quiz. You'll find that link in the description. Click on it. That will give you a little bit more insight. But of course, we also have a ton more content on this channel. So be sure to hit subscribe and check out more of our videos.